India and the US are making progress in negotiating a bilateral trade deal after a meeting between Prime Minister Modi and Vice President Vance in New Delhi. India and the US have finalized the terms of reference outlining the roadmap for negotiations of the proposed bilateral trade agreement. And this was according to a statement which was issued by the US India conglomerate. And the US also said that the significant progress has been made in negotiations for a mutually beneficial bilateral trade pact. As Prime Minister Modi and US Vice President Vance held wide-ranging talks. The goals include initiatives to drive transformative change across key pillars of cooperation, increasing market access, reducing tariff barriers, and negotiating a robust set of additional commitments to ensure long-term benefits. Let's talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the show is Mithali Nikore, economist, Mr. Robindra Sachdev, foreign affairs expert with us on the show, Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee, former diplomat, also joins us on the program, and Dr. Jayajit Bhattacharya, president of the CDPR, is also joining us on the show. Ambassador Mukherjee, ma'am, I will begin with you. Well, when it comes to the Americans and Indians indulging in trade and other talks, let us not forget that this relationship is mutually beneficial. As much as America wants to be fair when it comes to tariffs towards every country, they also understand that when it comes to options and on procuring goods and markets throughout the world, they don't have any choice but to deal with India.
Definitely, I'm very heartened by the news that there is such positive progress, and it would really seem that unlike other countries, we have been able to engage with the Americans so that the strategic partnership, the special strategic partnership that we enjoy with the Americans is not affected. Apart from that, the positive dynamics emanating from the US Vice President's visit, the various pictures that came of him and his family meeting our PM, it goes down very well within Indian audience because we are a very family-oriented nation, and it actually caused, I think, it gave JD Vance and his family a huge publicity blitz all over India, whether it's social media or television channels, etc. And the talks which simultaneously went on, whose results we are discussing today, also indicate that clearly we must have been able to come to some arrangement because the United States is a highly developed country and we are an emerging economy. It is not possible for us to open up vulnerable sectors like agriculture, etc., without some protection. So we must have worked out some protective barriers which are acceptable to the Americans to whatever extent we would know the details, to the extent that it does not create a precedent when we discuss similar trade deals with other developed country blocs, for example, the EU, where we always say that the concessions that we ask are normal because we are an emerging economy and a highly developed bloc of countries or a highly developed country cannot expect an emerging country to give the same kind of non-tariff barriers as they can because they are far ahead of us. So this has been something which we have been talking quietly with the Americans, and my feeling is that we've been able to cover it up by agreeing to buy a much larger number of defense imports, drones, etc., which they had been wanting us to buy, which would then compensate them, so to speak, for what they perceive as unfair trade practices or trade barriers. Moreover, it is also very important that these discussions have rattled the Chinese because there were several pieces today in Chinese social media and also in our newspapers where the Chinese are complaining that the Americans are trying to make hay while the sun shines, trying to destroy the Chinese economy and make favorable deals with countries, China's neighbors, which is not acceptable to China, and that they won't accept such unfair deals happening all around them, which means that China would have thought that they would be able to do what the Americans are doing, which is the Americans are finding other markets so that they can make up for the fact that they are boycotting Chinese goods. So the Chinese obviously wanted to do the same, and they have used bullying tactics, I'm told, on Malaysia, which hasn't worked. They tried to bully the Vietnamese, which hasn't worked. In the meantime, trade talks with between US and Japan and US and South Korea are also at a very advanced stage, like with India. So these are very interesting side developments taking place. Where I see we have a renowned economist on our panel. I'm sure she'll tell us more. But I think that all in all, it speaks very well for Prime Minister Modi, our negotiating team, our foreign policy team, our Ministry of Commerce, etc., whoever is negotiating behind the scenes. And also my compliments to the Vice President of US and his family. This is the first time that US Vice President has come since 2013. Kamala Harris refused to come. We invited her twice. She never came. And Vance and his wife and his children have, I'm not exaggerating, charmed India and all Indians. They were too cute yesterday on television with the peacock feather and everything. This is just the kind of thing that goes down very well in Asia because we are family minded people here in Asia. And I think that itself must have helped to smooth the atmosphere for the trade talks which followed beneath.